Now, the South African Municipal Workers Union, SAMWU, is demanding the government to pay its members a danger allowance of 3,000 rand. This comes after 63 of its members succumbed to the coronavirus. To tell us more about these demands, I'm joined now by SAMWU's General Secretary, Mr. Koena Ramatlou. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon, sir. Now, you recently had an NEC meeting, and it was at this meeting that you came up with this demand. But it's actually not a new demand at all, because I see that in April, a circular was published where the bargaining council said that they would be giving compensation for municipal workers who had contracted the virus.
Good afternoon, and thanks for the opportunity you're giving to us. I just need to put in context that the first part you have related to, it's about the special NEC that set and agreed on the parameter to say we need to get workers who have been working during this time to receive their 3 allowance as our demand that was saying they should get. And that still remains our baseline of negotiations in the danger, in the divisions and in the municipalities. The second part that we are relating to, it's about what we discussed in the special NEC. In our special NEC, what we looked into was to say there is an agreement that is in place on salaries of workers to be increased by 6.25. And in that context, we've realized that we have received presentations from Treasury, from also the SALGA. But while already amongst ourselves, between SALGA and trade unions, we had already agreed to say the municipal employees are going to get their 6.25. The circular that we're talking about, it came out on the 6th of March this year, which SALGA was represented. SALGA represents all municipalities. And in that context, we find no reason for SALGA to be saying to us there must be some change in how we're going to work together between us and them. And we also want to pass condolences to the families who have lost their loved ones during this time. And also to say for those comrades who have now, who are 4,571 who have been tested positive, we wish them that they should be able to recover, because community still requires them to be able to come and deliver services. And these workers we're talking about, it's workers who are in the main in the community safety, meaning your ambulances workers are affected, the nurses are affected, the refuse removal are affected, and in all that whole bundle, we want them to recover, come back, be able to continue to do their work of carrying the country to be able to move forward and ensure that the curve does not grow from where it is now.
Koena, what I'm referring to here is the commitment that was made in April, where the bargaining council said that they will consider paying out workers who had contracted COVID-19, but that they would do this at the end of the lockdown period, only at the end, that indeed there was no set agreement, but it's certainly something that had been discussed ahead of time.
There are 2 processes that are happening here. There is a process that is happening at the municipal level of the danger allowance. However, we had agreed initially before the NEC had met, where we then said we must have a compensation that should go to workers overall, those who have been working during this time. And the special NEC said to us, we need to initiate now. We don't have to wait for the COVID, for the lockdown to be ended. We must start now the negotiations. The NEC of Friday last week confirmed that we must proceed with the negotiations so that we are able to use modalities that have been used in municipalities for workers who have been working this time, who have carried this country, so that they can also get compensation. For an example, there are workers who are not necessarily which everyone can see, who dispatches ambulances. Those workers, they are part of those who have been carrying the country during COVID. And we want to cover all of those workers into the same package. That's why the NEC said, at a national level, let's not wait for municipal discussions. Those can continue, but on our side, we should start our own engagement at a national level to compensate these workers, because the role they've played to carry this country thus far should be compensated, because they've assisted in ensuring that numbers goes down.
We do send our condolences to the 63 of your members and their families who have succumbed to COVID-19. But as far as those who've actually contracted the virus and are still alive and are still making their way through the recovery process, what are those numbers looking like for municipal workers?
In fact, as things stand now, from the numbers we received on Friday from our National Executive Committee, they reflect that there are some recoveries, but in the main, the point is not only about those who are recovering, it's about those who are still in the treatment in the hospital, in the ICU, that municipalities should realize that they should not take this thing for granted. They should comply with provision of PPEs, and if they don't do so, it means workers would have to withdraw their labor and stay at home and wait for whatever that happens. Because if someone is not taking responsibility for their work, where they're supposed to comply with the health and safety conditions in terms of the occupational health and safety, all of that, it means we're going to run in a vicious circle. And we're appealing to municipalities to say they need to ensure that the work environment is safe for workers to be able to can do their work, so that we can continue as municipal workers to carry the country and save it from the pandemic which we're in, which is very invincible. And in this context, we're throwing this ball back to the municipal managers to say, can you ensure that there's compliance officers, there is necessary PPEs, all that is required must be in place properly for the benefit, not only for municipal workers or for SAMWU. It is about the benefit of the country. It cannot be a sectoral matter. It's for the benefit of the country.
So you are asking for 3,000 Rand compensation as danger pay for those who've already contracted the virus. What about compensation for those who've passed away from the virus, at least compensation for their families? Is that something that you're also considering?
No. In fact, I think maybe I must clarify this point. We're not asking for 3,000 for those who have contracted the virus. We're talking about workers who have been working since the COVID pandemic was announced. Those whom have succumbed to the pandemic, the normal processes of how workers get to claim their benefits, that will follow through. But we're not only going to speak about those who lost their lives, because there are those who are currently, as we speak now, which they don't know their status, some of them, who are continuing to go and guard and ensure that there is law enforcement, there's ambulances, there is nurses, there is all of that must be placed. Those must be paid on a monthly basis, that amount, until the lockdown is finished. That the demand from some is saying 3,000 for every days a month that has been declared a lockdown. Workers should benefit 3,000 per month until the COVID is finished. It's a COVID allowance. The areas where we have danger allowance, but for the COVID, we're saying 3,000 from our side as workers.
So, Koena, this 3,000 extra a month is in addition to the increase that you started getting from the 1st of July?
It's on top of that. This 3,000 is on top of the 6.25. The 6.25, it's a sealed agreement that was signed in 2018 August, and this year it's the last leg of the increment that must come through. And we find it very strange and very naive that Treasury would want to come to us and say there must be a blanket exemption for municipalities not to pay the increment. Secondly, SALGA, which was part of the EXCO meeting, where we agreed that the increment must be implemented, can also have the nerve to come to us and say there must be a blanket exemption. In fact, from the meeting we had on Friday with the National Executive Committee, municipalities across the country are ready to pay the increment to municipal workers as agreed in terms of the circular that was issued on the 6th of March. We're at no point going to go into any meeting about this matter, and if that does not happen, sneakers are ready for us to be able to demand and defend the agreement. And also, workers are now watching their phones now. On the 25th of this month, there must be a tweet that must happen, a notification that confirms that the salary came in, it has the increment on it. That's what we're looking for. Anything other than that, we're not prepared for any discussions.
So if that tweet doesn't come in with your increment reflecting there, what is it that you're going to do?
Workers are going to go to the people who have employed them. They will go to their municipal offices with their sneakers to go and demand that they must be paid the same day, because this agreement we're talking about, the municipalities through SALGA engaged SAMWU and said, let's not have a one-year agreement, which was SAMWU request. They said they want a 3-year agreement. And then SAMWU agreed to say, no, yes, you can give a 3-year agreement so that you can do your multi-year budget processes. Now, there can't be any discussion that's going to happen now. In fact, what is worse when that time is that councillors and the top executives, already their increments have been confirmed that they're going to get them. And then why do you come to workers to say workers must look at a discussion in a particular boardroom for what? We're not going to go into that boardroom. We'll do what is necessary, and workers will get what is due to them. If someone can announce that workers are not going to get their increment, it means we'll also announce that workers must go to their employers to get their increment, because you can't be asking workers to sacrifice while councillors all over the shore and the top executive of municipalities are going to get their increments.
Koena, before I let you go, you mentioned SALGA there, and SALGA also had launched a solidarity fund specifically for local government, and this is separate from the National Solidarity Fund. What is the status on that particular fund and the contributions that various workers have been making into that fund?
Thank you very much for that question. I will indicate to you now that SALGA brought the proposal to us about the Solidarity Fund. We said to SALGA, and we took this matter to the National Executive Committee, where the NEC have said, look, given the status of how things are happening in municipalities, we could not agree to have a fund that will be handled at the local level. We rather have a fund that is handled nationally, so that when you see red lights or yellow lights around management of finances within certain municipalities across the country, let's not compromise workers' money. SALGA said to us, they are prepared to say workers can give in their leave days. And we said that proposal is well and good, but we are not going to stop workers to contribute to any national fund. But it should not be at the municipal level, because